All right, let's get right into it. If you're a leader in any business today, there's one question that's probably on your mind constantly. How do we invest in AI? I mean, it's a huge decision with massive strategic and financial consequences. Getting it wrong can be incredibly costly. So let's dive in and give you a framework to make the right call.
So, what's it going to be? Should you build your own AI capability from scratch, buy a solution off the shelf, or just wait and see how things shake out? Look, there's no single right answer for everyone, but there is a right process to get to your answer. And that's what this is all about, walking you through a clear, practical framework to figure out which path is right for your organization right now. We're going to cover 5 key areas. First up, we'll look at why so many AI decisions just fizzle out. Then we'll completely reframe the problem with 3 foundational questions you have to ask. After that, we'll break down your 4 strategic options. Then I'll give you a decision matrix to guide your choice. And finally, we'll talk about how to make a compelling case to your board so you can actually get it done.
Okay, let's start with the pitfalls, because honestly, understanding the common ways people fail is the absolute first step to success. If you know where others go wrong, you can sidestep those same mistakes.
This right here, this is the single biggest mistake we see. Organizations start with the technology. They ask things like, should we use GPT-4? Or do we need to build our own model? But that's completely backwards. It leads to deploying fancy tech without a clear purpose, which is just a recipe for wasted time and money. The question isn't what technology, it's why technology.
And this quote just nails the second major reason for failure, what we call the imagination gap. It's not about lacking technical skills. It's that leaders can't yet picture, in really specific terms, what AI could actually do for their business. Without a super clear vision for how AI solves a real granular pain point, any investment you make is just a shot in the dark. So, to avoid all those traps, we need a total mindset shift. We need to go from asking what AI to asking why AI. And that whole process starts by asking 3 foundational questions before you even start thinking about solutions. These are your 3 gatekeeper questions, and you have to answer them in this order. It's non-negotiable. First, what is the specific outcome we're after? Second, is AI really truly the best way to get there? And third, the real make-or-break question, do we have the raw material, the data, to actually fuel the engine? Let's dig into that first question for a second, defining the outcome. You have got to be precise. Improve efficiency isn't a goal, it's a vague wish. A real target is something you can measure, something concrete, like reduce supplier onboarding from 14 days down to 3. Now that is a goal you can build a strategy around. All right, on to question 2. This one requires some real, honest self-assessment. Because, let's be real, AI is not always the right answer. Before you go all in on a complex AI project, you have to ask yourself, could a better process, or maybe a simpler off-the-shelf tool, solve this problem faster and cheaper? The goal is to solve the business problem, not just to say you used AI. And this brings us to the most critical, and honestly, the most often overlooked question of all. Your data. You know, most AI projects don't fail because the tech is bad. They fail because the data just wasn't ready. If your data is low quality, locked away in silos, or a total mess, your project is basically doomed from the start. Your data maturity really is the ultimate speed limit on how ambitious your AI strategy can be.
Okay, so once you've answered those 3 foundational questions, and only then are you ready to evaluate your strategic paths. Now, we usually hear about build, buy, or wait, but I want to add a 4th option that is often the most pragmatic choice: partner. Let's break down what each of these really means. First up, the build path. You go down this road when the AI capability you need is going to be a core part of your competitive advantage, your secret sauce, right? This path gives you total control, but you have to be ready for what it entails. It requires serious AI talent, and you're looking at a timeline of at least 12 to 24 months. It is a massive commitment. Then there's the buy option. This is your go-to when speed is everything. A mature vendor can get you up and running and seeing value way faster. But you have to be careful. The big risk here is vendor lock-in. Before you sign anything, you absolutely must scrutinize your data portability and your exit clauses. How do you get your data out if you want to leave? And this is the path so many organizations miss. Partnering with a specialist firm is a fantastic, lower-risk way to get access to expertise really quickly and close that imagination gap we talked about earlier. It's a way to learn, to experiment, and to build your own internal muscles before making a huge build or buy commitment. And finally, we have wait. Now, this is not about doing nothing. Waiting is a deliberate, active strategy. You choose to wait because maybe the tech isn't quite there yet, or the market is still too new, or, and this is a big one, your data foundation just isn't ready. The key is to have active monitoring in place and a defined trigger for when you're going to reevaluate the decision. It's not waiting forever, it's waiting for the right moment.
So how do you actually choose between these four paths? Well, that's where this practical toolkit comes in. Think of the AI decision matrix as your guide. It helps you map your specific circumstances to the most logical strategy.
This matrix is what helps you plot your path. Let's just walk through a couple of examples. Take the top row, strategic fit. The question to ask is, does this capability define our competitive advantage? If the answer is a resounding yes, then you're looking at a core differentiator, and that points you strongly towards build. But if it's just an enabling capability, then buy becomes a much more attractive option. Or let's look at data readiness. Do you have the rich proprietary data you need to make this thing sing? If you do, that's a strong signal for build. If your data's not ready, that's a clear signal to wait. As you go down the list, assessing your internal talent, the vendor market, your time pressure, a clear strategic choice is just going to emerge.
So, you've done all the work, you've used the framework, you've made a decision. Now for the final and most crucial step, convincing your board to actually approve it. And this means you have to translate all your brilliant strategic reasoning into the only language they really understand. And here's the secret. The board ultimately cares about three things, and pretty much only three things. Your AI proposal has to clearly and directly connect to at least one of these: reducing costs, enabling new revenue, or mitigating some kind of risk. If you can't map your project to one of these three buckets, you're just not ready to present it. Period.
And you can't be vague about it. For cost reduction, you need to quantify the projected savings. For revenue, you need to estimate the new income and how long it's going to take to get there. And for risk, you need to put a dollar figure on the potential cost of a failure event that your AI project will help prevent. Remember, numbers always speak louder than buzzwords. So we'll leave you with this final thought. If wait has been your organization's default answer for the last year or more, you really need to ask yourself a hard question. Is waiting still a deliberate strategy, or has it become an excuse for falling behind?